Hi, today we're going to go over weather reports and forecasts. This is an important topic because these are the reports that pilots use before each flight to find out what the weather is doing and make their go, no-go decisions before flight. Today we're going to go over area forecast, we're going to go over weather advisories, we're going to go over METARs, radar reports, TAFs, winds aloft, significant weather prognostics charts, and we're going to go over ATIS. First we're going to go over is area forecast. Each of these have their own acronym. It's kind of confusing at times, but we'll go over it. So area forecast acronym is FA. So FA stands for area forecast. It's issued 3 times a day, and it's valid for 18 hours. So an area forecast is issued 3 times a day, and it's valid for 18 hours. Now area forecast covers multiple states. It deals with cloud heights, precipitation type, visibility, also the general atmospheric conditions. It's important because if you're going long distance and there's airports and areas in between your reporting stations and you're interested in what the weather is, you're going to use your area forecast. And again, for IFR flight, required weather minimums for, say, an alternate airport, if there's not a TAF available, the next thing you use is an area forecast. So the area forecast is pretty important, and you get some good information from them. They're broken into 4 sections, and there's a header section, there's a precautionary statement, there's a synopsis, and the VFR clouds and weather. Now the synopsis is valid for 18 hours, the clouds and weather is valid for 12, and the outlook is valid for 6. Next we're going to move on to aviation weather advisories. Now these advisories are good for pilots that are en route and in case the possibility of encountering hazarding flight conditions. Now these are put into place for the possibility of a pilot in flight that wasn't forecasted and is pre-flight forecasted. So it's time pertinent information, and these all have acronyms as well. You got WA, you got WS, WST. So WA is stands for the AirMet, which is an acronym for Airman's Meteorologic Information. WS is a non-convective segment, which segment stands for Significant Meteorological Information. And WST is a convective segment. Now, a trick I learned that I want to share with you, try to remember what's involved with these segments, convective segments, is 654321, and I'll go over that with you real quick. Okay, so we got AirMet. Valid for 6 hours. So they're valid for 6 hours. There's 5 sections of an AirMet. You got your Zulu, mod icing, you got Sierra for IFR, and mountain obstructions. You got your Tango for mod turbulence, and you got your surface sustained winds greater than 30 knots. So we got winds greater than 30 knots. So those are the 5 sections. We got moderate icing, IFR, mountain obstructions, moderate turbulence, and sustained surface winds greater than 30 knots. So now we go, segments are valid for 4 hours. There's 3 parts of a segment. We got severe icing, severe turbulence, and then we got dust and volcanic activity. So we got convective segment. It's valid for 2 hours. We got convective segments valid for 2 hours. And one, lastly, is what's involved with the convective segment, and that's thunderstorms. We got thunderstorms hail greater than 3/4 inch diameter. We also have lightning and wind shear. So this is just kind of a quick way to remember everything involved with airmints and segments. Airmints deal with light aircraft, and the segments, which is a little more severe, and they deal with all aircraft. So we'll move on from here. Next we're going to go to METARs. Now, a METAR is an observation of the surface weather which is reported and transmitted. Now, acronym METAR actually stands for Aviation Routine Weather Report, and they're issued every hour 53 minutes past the hour, and are valid at the time of the observation. If the weather conditions change significantly between that hour, they'll issue a special METAR. METARs deal with cloud height, and they are noted in AGL, so above ground level. Now METARs are given in symbols and basically like code, so it's kind of difficult to decipher it when you first look at it. However, there's places in the AFD that you can look at that help you break it down. Now, a ceiling in a METAR is defined as broken or overcast, or their sky obstruction, the vertical visibility. Now, there's 10 sections of a METAR. They are the type of the report, the station designator and time, date and time, the modifier, the wind information, visibility, present weather, got sky conditions, and temperature dew point, altimeter setting, and remarks. So those are basically the sections of a METAR and what a METAR does. Nextly, we're going to move on to radar reports. So we're going to move on to radar reports. The acronym for radar reports is SD. SD is radar reports. So radar reports, most radar stations issue radar reports. Each hour, they routinely transmit on weather service circuits, and some are included in flight service stations' weather broadcast. SDs show areas of precipitation, also the type, the intensity, the trend, the movement, direction, and speed. They also show max height of clouds, which is good information to have due to the fact that if a cloud's getting really high, there's a good probability it's going to turn into a thunderstorm. So moving right along here, we're moving to a TAF. Now, TAF stands for Terminal Aerodrome Forecast, and they're issued 4 times a day. So basically every 6 hours. So that would be So they're issued 6 times a day and they're valid for 24 hours. So they're issued at the 0100, 0600, 1200, and 1800 Zulu. And that's when they're issued. And they're a statement of expected meteorological conditions at an airport during a specific period, usually 24 hours, within 5 statute miles or 5 statute mile radius of that airport. And they include winds, sky conditions, precipitation type, visibility, and they're basically the first thing you want to go to when you're looking for forecast weather, dealing with IFR flight, required weather minimums for airports of intended landing. The TAF is what you're going to need to look at to decide if you have that available weather. And like I mentioned earlier, if the TAF isn't available, the next best thing for forecast weather is the area forecast. That's why that's important. So we're moving on to winds aloft. Winds aloft, the acronym for winds aloft is FD. And they're issued 12 hours every 12 hours. And their valid period is they'll on the winds aloft themselves, it'll give the valid period date and time, well, time right there on the winds aloft. And they provide an estimate of wind direction in relation to, and these are in relation to true north. So these wind directions that you find on the on the winds aloft are true. They're true north. And the relations to true north. So it gives wind direction and speed. It also gives temperatures in Celsius at different levels of the atmosphere. So for example, a code may look like this. So this is what you'll see let's say this is at PDX. So on the winds or the winds aloft forecast, PDX, you'll see this code for the winds aloft, and it's deciphered as winds are from 270 true at 36 knots, and temperature is -2 degrees Celsius. So that's how you decipher that. Now, another code I'd like to point out would be 9900. If you see that at your designated airport at the altitude you're interested in, this code means light and variable, so winds are light and variable. And there's a lot more information I'd like to go over with the winds aloft. It's a good tool to use for finding your freezing level, because you got your temperatures and you got your forecast. It's a good to find out if you have a wind shear or temperature inversion. So you can get a lot of information from your FD. So next we're moving on to our significant weather prognostics chart. These are issued 4 times a day, and a lot of times they're just known as prog charts. And they have 2 panels on the left that have 12 hours, and these are forecasted 12 hours in advance, and then they also have 2 panels on the right that are 24 hours in advance. And you can compare the two, and they got fronts and different maps to look at to decide what the weather is going to do and what it's trending to do. Next we're going to go, and you can find this, you can find the symbols and understand and learn what the symbols mean. There's a chart and a test prep, there's also the internet, the proper internet sites. You go and understand the symbols, so when you're looking at these prog charts, you can decipher them. Like I said, they're issued 4 times a day, and they're good for looking at the current and forecasted weather situation. Next, we're going to go into the ATIS. The ATIS stands for Automatic Terminal Information System. Now, the ATIS are used by busy airports to free up the controller's workload, and they're automatic weather reports, and they report ceilings, visibility, obstructions of visibility, temperature dew point. The wind directions are given in magnetic. A tip that I've heard, that if you read it or it's written down the wind direction, it's true. Now if you hear it, it's always going to be magnetic. So in this case, the ATIS, the Automatic Terminal Information System, is magnetic. They also have the altimeter setting, the runway in use. These are updated whenever there's any official weather changes in the official weather, and they also have an alphabetical letter given to them. So when they change it, they'll have a new letter, and you'll know it's changed. And on initial call up, you have to reply to them that you have the current weather with that alphabetical letter given. So there's also, dealing with the same thing as the AWOS, which is an Automatic Weather Observation System. And basically, this is automatic weather observation transmitted directly to you during your flight, usually received within 25 nautical miles above 3,000 feet. They're basically 20 to 30 second transmissions, weather message for you, and basically weather surface observations. They're updated each minute, and they can also be accessed by telephone. So you could look at them before flight by calling it and just listening to it. You can also do that with the ATIS. You look up the numbers in the AFD and call it up, and you'll listen to the ATIS right there on the telephone, which is kind of handy. So now I'd like to go onto the computer and show you how to access each one of these on the websites. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. Thank you.